Hello, everyone. It's Fred Staub and Les Jackson. We're glad to be along for the ride here. Glad you're along for the ride. We are going to get going on cruise control in just a little bit. But Les, we've got a lot to get to, and that includes Volvo's Concept Recharge. We're going to talk about that. This could be the smartest and safest car ever built, which would be pretty amazing, wouldn't it?
It will be. It's quite a concept. Everything works on it, by the way. And over at Porsche, they've got a Cayenne Turbo that they're going to sell that has 600 horsepower.
Wow. Is that enough for you?
Well, I'd kind of like to get the extra turbo.
you okay. And then we're going to talk about this thing. It is the Mini Urbanaut. Sort of looks like a van to me, but they're going to be having that as a concept and potentially a new vehicle. And then look at this thing.
Oh yeah.
What is that? Well, that's a Hellcat engine.
That's a serious piece of hardware right there.
Yeah, this is known as hellacious, and if you can't see it, it will switch over to it in a minute. But this is found in the back of this, which looks like a Charger whose hips have grown for sure.
And it sure does, and it also looks like a Le Mans racer.
Yes, and this is in the new movie F9, which I'm sure you'll be going to see, featuring Vin Diesel, your favorite.
Boy, I tell you, for those that haven't seen F9, well, you have. But because if you've seen any of them, anyway, Camaro, bad news, bad news.
Yeah,
looks like it's going away.
Yeah. We don't have word for sure, but if you are a Camaro fan, it might be going away, and we'll tell you what's happening. And apparently, Les, they were going to have a Z28 version of it with the engine out of the upcoming Z06 C8 Corvette. That hasn't happened yet, and neither has the Z28, and I don't think the Z28's gonna happen. Do you?
I don't think so. I think they just can't sell enough to make a business plan.
Yeah, they can't sell enough to make a business plan. So, hey, we'll be right back with Cruise Control. Don't forget, while you're here, check us out on our YouTube page if you're watching the stream on YouTube, and subscribe so you get all the great automotive content. Yep. Also, you can go over to our Facebook page and watch the feed as well. Maybe you're doing that already. And check that out and give us a like as well. We'll be right back on Cruise Control, so stay tuned.
On-Air Automotive Magazine with co-hosts Fred Staub and Les Jackson.
Control.
Everything you need to know about new and used cars.
Control.
Industry news. We'll fix or repair your car on the air.
Control.
Fasten your seatbelts and let us take the wheel. Now, your ride is about to begin
Control.
because you're on cruise control. Cruise control. Cruise control.
Hello there, and welcome to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. And here we are, getting very, very close to big holiday, summer, whatever.
Traffic jams.
A lot of traffic jams, a lot of hamburgers being eaten, but that's okay. While you're eating, though, I know you want to know what's going on in the automotive world, and we're the ones who can do it. I'm Les, of course. That's Fred over there. And we got some really interesting stories to unveil.
Yeah, we sure do, Les. There's a lot going on, and we're going to start this hour with Volvo showing off its Concept Recharge, a built-from-the-ground-up CUV, and they're also going to shine a light. Shine a light. I got my little Elton John thing going on there. On their new technology. A lot of it involves how fast you can charge the vehicle and how it interacts with you. So it's pretty cool stuff. We'll talk about that, and I think our viewers and listeners will find it very interesting.
I think so. This is really, just kind of one step
Beyond.
away from everyone else. And over at Porsche, they've given us the details of their super hot Cayenne Turbo GT.
Wow.
With a modest 600 horsepower.
Yeah, that will, I would call that barely adequate. Wouldn't you, Les?
Yeah, substantial.
Yes, and then Kia scores with safety. The Stinger gets some great safety ratings. We'll tell you about that. Something to think about if you're buying one.
Well, absolutely. And you probably wonder what vehicle brands are most likely to get a speeding ticket. Well, a new study is out. We're going to cover it with you. It may surprise you.
Yeah.
Those of you who are in little tiny Priuses, don't worry.
yeah, it's not you for sure. That
That's right.
Yeah, but we'll tell you about that, and plus we'll have a dual review of the 2021 Mazda CX30 Turbo. Les, you and I had that. We like doing a dual review because it's a great way to get two opinions for the price of one, right?
Exactly. And sometimes we actually agree on stuff.
Yeah. I'll just say this, that it's got a nice bit of horsepower on tap, and I found it to be pretty snappy, wouldn't you?
Pretty snappy. However, that horsepower comes with the sound of, I would call it a kind of a straining sound of the engine.
Oh, yeah. I agree with that, and we'll talk about that and more on Cruise Control when we come back. I'm Fred Staub. He is Les Jackson. We are just getting started on Cruise Control, so stay tuned.
Let me get the...
And welcome back to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. It's Fred Staub and Les Jackson with you, telling you about what's going on in the automotive industry. Les, this week, big news from Volvo, their Concept Recharge. This is a built from the ground up crossover. It's kind of the future for all Volvo vehicles, because they're one of the brands that are going to go electric sooner than some of the others. Very clean design. They call it a less is more design, very Scandinavian. It's got some of the features that you would be familiar with in a Volvo, including the taillights that go up the back.
Yep.
And it's a very clean look, for sure. No grille, which concerns me, or no simulated grille. Very angular. The lights, they call that Thor's hammer. Of course, that will be, the shape of the lights will be continuing on. And it's very Tesla-esque on the inside with the big tablet. It's got a lot of lighting features. Apparently, electric cars need fancy lighting inside. That's one of the requirements.
Well, yeah, of course, a lot of manufacturers are doing that, as you know, and you can change the color for mood.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this interior, I have to say, and I think the outside of it is great looking,
Mm-hmm.
And all the technology. The inside is just a wee bit, in fact, a lot on the Spartan side.
Very Tesla-like, isn't it?
Well, more than Tesla. It almost looks like you're sitting in a waiting lounge. It doesn't look inviting to me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Scandinavian design is minimalist, that's for sure. But it is pretty minimal. I will say that.
It is.
But there's a lot of technology involved. And by the way, these are going to replace vehicles such as the Volvo XC40, XC60, XC90. So this, like the current Volvo lineup, they basically scale their vehicles up and down. They're very similar looking. That's a 15-inch touchscreen, by the way, in the what we should say Spartan-esque style interior.
Yeah. It's a little large.
Little large. I'm not a fan of.
Large.
I'm not a fan of everything on the tablet. I'm really not in vehicles.
I'm not either. I don't. I don't care for it. I don't find it all that convenient, actually.
Yeah. Now, this is also one of the first cars to be built with having LiDAR sensors as part of the design. I believe you see it up on the roof line. That's where they would mount it. A company called Luminar is going to be building this, and this is showing like a integration of autonomous technology into a vehicle that will be going into production. We don't know if it will look exactly like this, but it is built around that technology rather than bolting on some kind of tower or other structure to the roof and trying to adapt it. So you and I know those LiDAR sensors are going to get much smaller. They're not going to be the spinning towers that we see now. They'll probably be built into little pods on the side of the vehicle. And that's what this concept is showing for sure. And it certainly looks like a Volvo.
It does. Now, in Volvo PR speak, they're saying each part of the interior is like a piece of art and could stand alone as individual furniture.
Which that's not a feature that you can take the interior out and use it as.
I'm just reading it. I'm not,
Yes.
It's just a little bit too plain to me.
Yeah, I don't think we have to reinvent it completely to build an electric car. But then again, think about hybrids. When they first came out, they were like, it must look completely different
Absolutely.
than a regular car, a non-hybrid car. And that's why we got things like the Prius. That's why we got things like the original Insight. And then people realized maybe it doesn't have to, maybe it just can be a
Yeah,
small plaque on the side of the
that's
vehicle.
right. Just people don't really care that much about what's powering it.
Yeah, exactly. That it should just be that. It should just be
Right.
uh, uh, a vehicle that you can drive. So when we come back, we'll tell you more about what Volvo's got planned technology-wise, including up to a 600-mile plus range. And then we'll stick with that 600 number less for that
That seems to be the number for today.
super hot Porsche Cayenne Turbo GT. So stay tuned to Cruise Control.
Cruise Control.
And welcome back to Cruise Control. We were talking about the Volvo concept Recharge, which is a good name.
Yeah.
I like that. I'm surprised somebody else didn't come up with it, but they're really telling the world, hey, we're going to be, or we plan to be, the leaders in electric vehicles.
Yeah, they also have a lot of technology, Les, that they're talking about, and they're kind of looking into the future. They're working with a Swedish battery company called Northvolt, which I like that name, actually. And the whole idea there is to increase the energy density of the battery cells by up to 50%. So Volvo is looking to break the 1,000. Now, I don't know this measure of this scientific measure. It's WH / I energy density milestone. What is that? WH?
That's an industry. It's kind of like like the SAE is to engine technology and
Well, it's a
those things.
measure of energy density, but
Right. It's a measure of energy density and efficiency.
here's the takeaway: that one charge would get you 621 miles of real driving range. Game over.
That's serious.
I mean, if they can do that, I mean, that's amazing. Now, they also say that along with that energy density, Northvolt is aiming to produce these batteries with 100% renewable energy. And then they're also trying to cut down the recharge time, which would be very, very fast for these things, in the 15-minute range, which is...
Boy, is that ever some serious current density.
I bet you could melt marshmallows on that battery when you're hitting it with that much voltage.
That's right. It seems to me that you could put a bank of capacitors in parallel with the battery and use all of that current density to charge up the capacitors, then let them slowly discharge into the battery.
So in other words, the idea would be that holy grail to, I'm going to charge my electric car. I could charge the capacitors in 3 to 5 minutes, let's say, just seconds. And then capacitors are not that heavy, are they?
No, not at all.
And then it will slowly feed the power into my battery pack. Or the next step beyond that is you don't have a battery pack. You have some way of regulating the voltage of capacitors, right?
Which is a very, very difficult thing to do. So typically, capacitors is big box of energy, and you connect it, and it lets it all loose.
So it's sort of like you would have it's like having a UPS system on your computer. The energy's coming from the socket, right, but the systems are really running on the batteries, but the batteries are being constantly refreshed by the AC power.
Again, lots of very, very inventive things are coming up. And 10 years from now, people will look back and say, oh my gosh, old lithium batteries.
The problem will be, how do we get rid of them? That's what.
Yeah, people used to charge up for hours.
You mean they used a cord and they would connect with a cord?
Yeah.
You're right. Well, let's look a little bit at some more of the futurism from Volvo, including the Volvo OS, called VolvoCars.os, their operating system. Which will be something that is specific to Volvo. It will give over-the-air updates to customers' cars. It will also pull data from the cars. It will data mine the cars, which, let's face it, is going to be a great thing for manufacturers. Not necessarily a great thing if you care about your privacy, but it is going to be noticing where you've gone, what you're doing, when you do it, and you'll be marketed to with that in mind, which some people say is better because you're not getting ads for aluminum siding when you live in a brick house, but you're getting ads you can use. Others will say, wow, you're really getting up in my face, right?
Yeah, I don't think there's a middle ground here.
Yeah, and that conversation may be over, actually, but so that's a couple of the things that Volvo is looking at for the future of their vehicles. It's going to be an exciting time, and we'll certainly stay up to date on that. But the Volvo Recharge concept is their first from the ground up electric vehicle, and it looks pretty cool to me. Hey, let's talk about something that is, well, if this can be called traditional, it is the Porsche Cayenne Turbo GT. And this thing is a little bit more, I would say, traditional in a sense, but it has a 4-liter twin-turbo V8 that develops 631 horsepower, 90 horsepower more than the Cayenne Turbo Coupe. and the torque increases from 567 to 626, and 0 to 60 in 3.1 seconds, quarter mile in 11.6, which is very fast for a street car.
And this is like a close to 4,000 pound thing.
Exactly. This is not a lightweight. 186 mile per hour top speed. It's the fastest production Cayenne ever offered by Porsche. It's got a 17 millimeter lower ride height, as well as an electronically controlled chassis systems that are calibrated to enhance performance.
Now wait a second here. 17 millimeters
lower than the other Cayennes.
It's like a quarter inch.
Well, I guess they had to call it out. 17.
I mean, why would they even mention it?
17 sounds much more like a bigger change than a quarter inch.
Your car is going to ride that much lower.
Yeah, exactly. But cool stuff. I think the trend here is smaller V8s. The V8s continue on. Certainly going to have power adders, and they are going to have smaller displacements. I would say we might see V8s in the 3-liter range as they continue to shrink, right?
Absolutely. What's amazing to me is they've made the exhaust out of titanium and reduced the weight of it by 40 pounds.
That's huge.
Have you ever taken an exhaust system out of a modern car? They're incredibly heavy.
They are incredibly heavy. And, you're exactly right. Of course, we've seen titanium exhaust on some exotic cars, and we've seen titanium exhaust on Corvettes and a whole bunch of other vehicles. I used to get upset when I would see at Corvettes at Carlisle people throwing away a perfectly good exhaust system.
Yeah. Just, I don't get it.
Because they like the chrome tips on the other one, just buy the chrome tips.
Swell.
But, I also think we're going to see, as lightweighting continues across the board, you and I have talked about this, we're going to see carbon fiber and composites and that used in every vehicle. You and I have picked fenders up that are composites that don't weigh anything. They
weigh ounces.
They fool your brain. You think like that can't weigh. Why don't I feel any weight on that? And this is we're going to just get more of this in the future for sure. It really is going to keep going. Hey, let's talk about some brands that are doing very well, and one of them is Kia. They have had a huge year with,
There's
of course,
something very dangerous in your home.
Apparently, there's something very dangerous in our home, but we will be back with more Cruise Control. After this, we're going to talk about the Kia Stinger and Kia overall, so stay tuned to Cruise Control. I'm Fred Staub. He's Les Jackson. We will be right back. And welcome back to Cruise Control. I'm Fred Staub. He is Les Jackson. We're glad you're along for the ride. Don't forget to check us out at cruisecontrolradio.com. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to our YouTube page. A lot of great videos there. More of the stuff you love. Go over to Cruise Control at YouTube and Facebook. All there.
That's right.
Instagram. All Les Jackson. Just this social media maven, right?
Western Union.
Western Union, yes. We're working with Marconi on some new apps.
Yeah. I have my my Morse code thing right here.
Well, Kia has had a great year, and one of the vehicles they've refreshed is kind of their halo vehicle. It has not taken off as they would have liked, but it's still a beloved vehicle. But the good news for Kia is they got the 2021 top safety pick rating since it made LED headlights standard. This is the Stinger, and that is good news for them. And, of course, that's why you're going to see a lot of LED headlights.
That's right.
Because that's what gets you the good numbers, right?
They get you the good numbers, and they also get rid of, remember, it wasn't very long ago that everything had HID headlights.
Yeah, sure.
High intensity discharge, and it annoyed oncoming traffic.
But some people are still annoyed by LED lights, aren't they?
They are, but not to the extent.
Okay. Maybe some of our audience would like to throw us a comment, what they think about that. I mean, LED lights, that is a clear criteria for getting the top safety pick. So you're going to see many, many, many more manufacturers putting these on the vehicles as standard. And I almost think it's probably cheaper to put them in now because LED lights are common, economy of scale.
Yep.
And if they get that rating, they're going to do it, right?
Absolutely. And I think you're right. I think they are less expensive to manufacture.
Yeah. And they don't burn out for sure. So there you have it.
No, not often, except mine.
You have
my
LED?
under-counter LEDs are the transformers are always burning out.
Well, that's kind of annoying.
But that's, what's far less expensive.
Here's something.
Technology.
Here's something that's expensive and kind of sickening to anyone that loves vehicles. Brand new Jeep Grand Cherokees were flooded outside the Stellantis Jefferson North Assembly Plant in Michigan. Some of them had water almost up to their roof. 25 vehicles were damaged in the flooded shipping yard adjacent to the factory. They are being sent to the crusher fresh off the line.
Wow.
There's a loss, isn't it?
Oh, you just hate, even if you don't like the product, you just hate hearing that. It's such a terrible waste. Yeah,
terrible waste, and certainly terrible. Could any of those things be saved? Could the drivetrains be saved? Like if they had Hemis in them and they're sitting there, and maybe it's only up to the top of the wheel, could you just drain all the oil out of it and get all the water out of it? And if it
hasn't gotten into the intake, you should be able to revive the engine.
Yeah,
and probably the transmission.
And just drain them all out.
Right.
Drain them all out and
go through them and
probably put some oil in there, start it up, and then drain the oil again.
Yeah, but the problem is, for insurance purposes, they may not let you do that.
Remember that ship that overturned at Mazda, and they basically had videos of them destroying brand new cars because they couldn't take a chance. They were hung upside down.
That's right. That's right.
And they might be fine. That's the weird thing. You might be able to just turn them up and leave them sit there for a month, and all the fluids go back to where they're supposed to. But then again, they might not be. So they don't want somebody saying, "Hey, you sold me a car that was has an obvious flaw, and they did not want to be dealing with these things for years.
Yeah. Plus, federal law is that it's called a manufacturing defect or damage. It's called the 3% law.
Mm-hmm.
Most people have never heard of it, but what that means is if there's shipping damage or whatever between the factory and the dealership that is less than 3% of the MSRP of the vehicle, it doesn't have to be disclosed.
Okay. So in other words, if, let's say, they're delivering your vehicle and somebody breaks the side window, chain flies or whatever.
They would never have to disclose that to you.
What if they damage sheet metal and they decided to just load a lot of filler in there? And
I don't think they can. Well, no, because the dealer contracts, they have to use authentic parts.
And do it right. Put a new fender on.
Yeah, but the point is the damage to those water-soaked or damaged in the boat, it clearly would be over 3%.
Oh, yeah.
So they'd have to inform the buyer. And how many buyers are going to buy it?
If they gave it to me for free.
I'll take it.
And say, if you give it to me for free and it breaks, I'll just probably not the flooded one.
Right.
The one that was upside down, like I said, I'd leave it sit there for a month and see what happens. Make sure once again I had oil in it, I had coolant in it, I had transmission fluid where it was supposed to be. I'd check the rear end that or whatever if it was a truck, if it had a rear end, make sure there was fluid in there, that it didn't run out the vents. And
if it's free, I'll take it, and I'll take it apart and make sure everything works.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, let's talk about this. This is an interesting article I found this week. The brand that is most likely to get you a speeding ticket, and you may be surprised at this. What is the brand that you would think would be most likely to get you a speeding ticket, Les, off the top of your head?
Well, first, the obvious thing would be a Mustang or a Dodge Charger, Corvette.
But
because you figure, well,
I got another brand.
Fast.
It begins with B and ends with W.
Okay, that would be BMW.
Yes, yes. Many drivers tend to drive in a how shall we say, active fashion around here.
Yeah.
So I think that would be one. But there's a new study from the folks over in Surified.com, and they say that an average of 10.5% of all drivers in the U.S. have received at least one speeding ticket. But some get tickets more often than others. So Here are the top 5. In 5th place, it's Ram. Ram pickup.
Now that you say that, every time I see a pickup truck speeding locally, it's a Ram.
Only Ram 1500s, not 2500s. Well, 2500 you figure they're using it for work. They got it loaded up with stuff. Maybe they're towing something. Let's just hope they're not towing like a fifth-wheel trailer and going 95 miles an hour. Although I have seen that, which is scary. Okay, in 4th place, Maserati. Not the other models besides Quattroporte, though. Quattroporte owners apparently don't speed. Hey, let's paint with a wide brush there.
That's right. That's because it's usually on a flatbed.
Oh my.
The Quattroporte is not a reliable machine.
All right. And then number 3 might be surprising, but I love this next vehicle. It's one of my favorites. Volkswagen, the Golf GTI owners get ticketed.
Understandable.
They are great cars, though, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. And then Subaru. Yes, I've seen a lot of people, WRX
Yeah.
and STI owners doing stuff. Not
Yeah,
not
not the
the
regular.
not the Outlook people.
No,
By the way, I
Outback.
have I have an Outlook in my driveway right now. That's going to be an upcoming at the wheel review. It's the Wilderness edition, so it's lifted more than 17 millimeters less.
18.
18. When we come back, we'll have the top two brands that could get you ticketed. We're also going to have an at-the-wheel review, a dual at-the-wheel review of the CX30. So stay tuned to Cruise Control with Fred Staub and Les Jackson. We'll be right back.
Cruise Control.
Welcome back to Cruise Control. Fred and I were talking before the break of the cars, vehicles you're most likely to get arrested in or to get ticketed. And
Arrested. Whoa.
well, we don't want to get arrested. And
No.
we left off with Subaru, chiefly the WRX.
Yeah. And STI.
Yeah.
And then
But the top of the list,
from Insurify.com, by the way, is the top of the list is Alpha.
it is Alfa Romeo, which is not surprising because it's Italian. And in Italy, it's the law. You have to speed. And being half Italian, I obey the law.
Okay, half of the time.
Half of the time, so I speed. Yeah. So Alpha, well, it makes sense. It's a,
It's a car that's made to be driven, right?
Alphas. You get in one, you want to drive in a spirited manner.
Well, it's the Alfa Romeo Giulia, and that is the most ticketed vehicle out there, based on data from 4 million drivers, which is a pretty good swath of drivers, don't you think?
It is. I suspect if you surveyed the whole country, this wouldn't be the case, but pretty significant.
Hey, let's do a duel at the wheel review. You want to try that?
All right.
Well, we had this vehicle to drive, the Mazda CX30 Turbo, which has significant power, Les Jackson, if you use premium fuel, like I know you do.
Well, I do when it's required. I don't when it's not, because you're not helping the engine.
Well, it's interesting. I've never seen this before. And manufacturers typically just rate the power and they don't tell you what kind of fuel they use. You get 2 ratings with this vehicle.
That's right.
87 octane gives you 227 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque with regular fuel. 250 horsepower and 320 pound-feet of torque with premium fuel. You don't see that normally, do you?
No, normally they don't. And you got to hand it to Mazda for going through the effort to give you 2 choices. That way, if you want to run on regular fuel, they'll tell you what the output will be, which will be less than premium because the engine was designed to develop maximum horsepower at higher compression.
Yeah. But I found the vehicle to be very, very snappy, and I'm sure it was delivered to us with 93 octane in the tank.
Oh, of course.
Sky Active G 2.5-liter turbo engine. One thing about these Sky Active engines, and I think you alluded to it, when they start up, they sound sort of like an old Jeep or something.
A little, yeah. It's not rattly, but it's
wheezy, like a wheezy sound.
It's wheezy, and it's kind of like engines used to be that had mechanical valve lifters.
Yeah, I don't know why that is, and it goes away once it warms up, but it's something that weirdly annoys me, but probably a lot of people wouldn't care about it, and it's not incorrect because we've driven a lot of Mazda vehicles, and that's the way they sound.
But what I did care about was the engine noise inside under full acceleration.
Okay.
Engine was, pretty loud. It didn't feel, but it sounded like it was working really hard.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot of vibration, but it sounded like it might be vibration.
Okay. All right.
It just seemed, I would have preferred more quiet power.
Well, we should state this because somebody just asked, what is the difference between the CX3 and the CX30? And that's a great question because they're both small crossovers. The CX3 is roughly about 3 or 4 inches shorter than the CX30. and the CX3 is going to be going away. The CX30 is
Exactly.
a little bit bigger. It is a crossover, and so was the CX3, but the CX3 was more like a crossover based on a hatchback, where the CX30 is more of a stretched crossover, if you can call a 3-inch extension a lot. But
Well, roomier.
yeah. So you're only going to be seeing the CX30 going forward, so that will make things a little bit better. One of the things I noticed on the interior is the interior punches a lot higher in a lot higher a class than what we're used to with vehicles in this range. It's certainly, they've done a lot of work on the interior and really put in some nice materials.
Yeah, they did. And it's comfortable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is important, by the way.
One of the things where I think it falls down, and it is not necessarily a problem of the CX30, but of Mazdas in general, I just don't like their infotainment system. I find it hard to use. I find the icons don't make any sense. I don't really like the volume control on the console. I'm glad that there is a volume control, because it's not a slider or something like that. But I find it difficult to pair my phone. I was never able to pair my phone, which is the first for this
I was able
thing.
to pair my phone, but to be honest, I couldn't figure out how it got there.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was just luck.
And very, very hard to tune stations when you're driving. It's like they almost have to be loaded into presets, and not intuitive at all. Not a lot of USB connection ports. One was hidden up under the dash. I found it later. It's not their strong suit, infotainment. I would say that's the negatives of it. The negatives are that and short side windows. They're a little bit small.
A little bit. But on the plus side, they are fun to drive.
Absolutely.
They bias all of their vehicles to be. If you drive a lot of vehicles like we do, you'll notice Mazdas always rev higher at given speeds.
That's true.
They just the final drive ratio is higher or lower, numerically higher,
right?
Which is actually lower geared. And that's for quick throttle response, no matter what speed you're going. It's that old zoom.
Are we still allowed to say that? It doesn't
appeal.
say it anywhere.
That's right. No, it doesn't. But that's what they used to trade on.
You realize
And
that kid
it's
must
true.
be like 55 years old now. They used to say that.
Yeah, that kid's he's in a retirement home. But they're fun to drive. They've got very nimble handling, very excellent braking.
Yeah, and let me tell you this. I've got the Monroney right in front of me. Of course, Monroney being the window sticker, if you're not familiar. Gets 5-star rating, vehicle overall on the government 5-star safety. Does really, really well. 5 stars across the board, 4 stars on rollover. Let's look at the price. Base price, $33,900. That was for the Premium Plus package, all-wheel drive, deep crystal blue mica with a black-brown interior. Great interior, dynamic stability control, traction control, advanced dual front airbags, all the safety stuff. Only options on ours was a cargo cover, floor mats, rear bumper guard, stainless, which is kind of a neat thing to have. So out the door price with destination $35,400. Not too bad at all, Les Jackson. Highway 30 miles to the gallon, city 22, and the combined is 25. So not a bad deal. The
Pretty
Mazda CX30. A couple of little things there to be concerned about. Hey, it's time for me to say I'm Fred Staub.
I'm Les Jackson.
We're going to see you down the road.
Bye.